It's been a year. I think a lot of people are just wondering how you guys are doing a year later.
I would say that, I mean, under the circumstances, we're doing great. We literally, I've found a place to tuck Ethan in, in my heart, and, then you just have to get up and put your best foot forward. We made a decision to do that back in late March, and we've stuck by that. We have a beautiful family, and we have 2 kids who deserve the very best life still. And we have a relationship that, deserves to go back and start where we left off, which was a year ago. I mean, literally a year ago, Parents Weekend, we were celebrating these amazing kids that we'd raised. We were like, okay, maybe we get to step back and take a deep breath and say they're going to be okay. They have each other, and they're going to live the best life, and they'll always have the 3 of them. And
that's hard to look back on, though.
It is, but it is what it is. It's a really terrible situation that our family has been put into. We were a great family before, and we have to go on and continue to be that.
And you are that.
We are. We are. And yes.
You've worked hard
My mama
to make it
there,
happen.
yes. I think it's the very first thing I actually told Maisie and Hunter when we picked him up on the evening of November 13th a year ago. I said, I don't know. I don't know if I can repeat on camera exactly what I said. But I said, I don't know what just happened here, but this will not sink our family. It won't. Mm-hmm. And you just get to a point where you have to make a decision to carry on, to move on.
Yeah, and you're doing that.
We are.
Mm-hmm. There's so many wonderful things that you're doing in honor of him. But
yes.
Jim, how are your feelings a year later?
I'm a lot better than I was. Just knowing that the 2 kids, Hunter and Maisie, are doing well is a relief for me. It was very important to me that they carried on, went back to school, but yeah, I just glad that they're doing well.
They are.
They are doing well.
It's literally all that matters as a mom, right? Mm-hmm. When your kids are happy,
yeah,
we're happy.
It's so true.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's so true.
Yeah.
So I think people would like to know, how are Maisie and Hunter doing?
Yes.
Tell us about them. They're back at school, and they love their community and their sorority and their fraternity. Tell us about them.
We're so fortunate to have had the fraternity and the sorority. I mean, there's a lot of people that are, you can say what you want about it, but for our kids and our family, it has been a tremendous place for our kids to, the friendships that they have and the support system that they have that is here is it's priceless for us. I mean, we know Maisie has great friends, and they're just safe. We just, they'll notify us if there's a situation, and Hunter's the same way. They're doing well in school. They have great friends. I mean, I don't know, what else do you ask for, right?
That's about it.
I mean, they're still, moving on and getting an education and following their dreams, and and growing into young adults. Which
And the U of I is a safe, wonderful community for them.
But we felt that way before too, when we still do. Yes.
Yeah. Just a freak occurrence.
Freak. Oh. And it is not the university's fault. It's not the Moscow Police Department's fault. All of those people, Idaho State Patrol, they have been all up the whole, everybody. Yeah. We cannot say enough about them. No.
Well, let's talk about Ethan, because that's what we're here to do.
Okay.
So I want to talk about him as a baby and as a child. Tell me what made him shine, because he shined from birth, pretty much. So talk to me about him.
I don't know.
What are your memories of him as one of the triplets, as a baby?
He was easy. Yes, he was so easy. He was the one who just, I don't know, he must have known it from the beginning that he just was going to have to take Easy Street, because there were 2 others that were going to, somebody was going to cry until they got the attention, and Ethan just was like, well, it's fine, I'll just wait my turn.
He was an easy baby.
Easy.
He was.
We have pictures of him. He's just laughing, and all through. I think it became his role. I mean, your kids have roles in a family, and I think Ethan's, that was part of his his role. He just became, oh, all right, Mom wants to do this, let's go. This is where we're going, all right, let's go.
So did he lead the triplets, Jim? Was he kind of the leader?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the other two kids, Maisie and Hunter, just loved to be around him, and everybody loved to be around him. I mean, he just had this magical thing with people that people just wanted to be there with him.
And they still do.
It's funny.
Oh, they still do.
Yes, they still talk about that
Yeah.
magic.
That's a word we haven't used in describing him. It's true, he had a magical, he touched people, it was amazing.
So
many.
soon after this happened, how many months was it until you wrote that beautiful children's book? Tell us about it. And what inspired that in you? Was it like you had to do something, this felt like the right thing?
Okay, so a friend of mine sent me a news release that said, hey, some author has been given the rights to tell this story. Now, this is very early on, right? And it bothered me. I'm like, and it still does, to be honest with you. Why does some stranger get to tell a story and profit off of our kids, off of these kids in this terrible event? And, we actually did some, we went and kind of searched out how that worked anyways, whatever. We had to learn a lot about people's First Amendment rights in the media, and that they are, people can write and tell stories and say what they want. And we kind of had to come to terms with that. And so anyways, it just bothered me. And I thought, if anybody has a story to tell, it's Mom, it's the family, it's the people who raised him. And I literally just woke up one morning and I'm like, oh, here's a story I have to tell. And I wrote it. It's kind of just a memorial to Ethan. It's his friends now get to have it on a coffee table, and people who didn't know him can maybe take something away from the great personality and character and magical personality that he had. I mean, and so I wrote it, and then a friend said I needed an illustrator, so I drove to Target and I stood in the children's department and I wrote down illustrators' names, and got on Amazon and I wrote down names, and I'd look at their Instagram, and we just reached out. We have somebody who helps us with all of this, and we just reached out, and she was back east actually, and she said, oh my gosh, I know this story. I'll do it. And so each of the photos, even in the book, are based on our real photos in real life. So I mean, it's genuinely a biography written into a children's book. I mean, it is a true story from front to back, but it's not meant to be sad. It's just this story of live your best life, be kind to everybody. So the title of the book is The Boy Who Wore Blue, and it was actually his triplet color. And our kids are actually, originally when they were born, you actually have to color coordinate everything inside of your home, down to the bottles that they drink out of when you're measuring these little tiny measurements. So he was the boy who wore blue in our family. If the world lived life like Ethan, it would be a better place, honestly.
So after you wrote that book, you went on the Today Show.
Yes, I
in
did.
New York. What inspired you to go on to accept the invitation and to go spread the word about your boy?
If anybody, I feel, it's the only thing that I have left as a mom is to be his voice. It's very, very empowering, if you will. And so if somebody wants to talk about the foundation that we've created in his name, or they want to talk about the book that I've written, yes, absolutely. Do I wish we were not under these circumstances and that we weren't doing some of these incredible things? Hell yes.
Yes.
I mean, let's be honest. I always feel like I need to start a whole conversation with that. Do we wish that we were back? I'd live in a cardboard box on a street to have my son home. But that isn't going to happen. So we have to, be blessed by all of the things and opportunities that we've had.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the foundation, let's get to that, because you guys started this foundation.
So we filed the paperwork. It's called the Ethan Smile Foundation. And I do believe that people want to genuinely help our family. And there's really nothing to do. What do you do? How do you help a family who's in this situation? And, we had money in a GoFundMe account. And then I think it's how people, I think, see to help us. People were just...
They wanted to give.
They do. They want to give,
Yeah.
And so we put all of it into the foundation, and we will scholarship kids. It was easy for us when we decided what we needed to do with this foundation is to scholarship kids in Ethan's name who are pursuing some dream. And they'll go on and they'll do it, in Ethan's honor, and he'll help, that'll help pay for an education, just for kids to be able to go. And it doesn't matter what it is, 4-year, 2-year, beauty school, a barista school, wine, I don't know, cocktail making, whatever is your dream and your goal. The goal is for us to be able to help scholarship some dream in Ethan's honor and in his name. It makes perfect sense.
So every year will you choose some people that write to you, or how would that work?
The application will be live February 1st on the Ethan Smile Foundation website. And then, it'll be clear on the directions. It has to be turned in by the end of April, I believe. And then we'll sit and go through them. We'll come up with a, kind of a prioritize the list. And then we haven't figured out, I don't have a scholarship party.
Yes, you guys are so much ahead of you with that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, I guess, the tulips, because there's such an incredible gesture from, he worked there, right, at this tulip farm, is that right? Jim, tell us about that.
Yes, he did.
Jim, 30 days.
He worked 30 days at this tulip farm, and the kids loved working with him. They changed their schedule around. They just wanted to make sure they were working with Ethan because he was so fun to work with. The kid
Reese Gardner,
Reese Gardner came up with the idea of the Ethan's tulips.
And it's called Ethan's Smile, right?
Yeah.
The tulip as well. What is it about this smile, Jim?
Oh, his smile was just amazing.
Oh, so cute.
He always smiled.
He did.
All
His
the time.
dimples.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
It's fitting that everything's affiliated with that smile. The tulip, the foundation, because it just glows, right?
It does. I mean, he was always doing something that made you singing, making some funny noise. I don't know, you just,
Yes.
he just,
Yeah.
I don't know.
His whole life was that way, though.
Yeah.
He
He
lived
could
his whole
lift
life.
any room.
Yeah, he just. There's just something about him. He's a very unique person.
Tell us about his stature, because he was a big guy.
He was a big guy. Ethan was 6'4", and he's very broad in the shoulders, but his heart was the biggest part.
Yeah.
Really was. I mean, he just loved to be around people. He really did.
He just was so full of joy and so full of fun and loved country music, and he was in love. And I think we talked a little bit about that, him being in a relationship that he was really loving.
Yeah.
Tell us what you want to share about that relationship.
We were blessed to spend the summer with Xana. We feel very fortunate to have known them. The most important thing I think that people should know is that Ethan was exactly where he wanted to be. We say in our family he was in the right place at the wrong time. And you just have to live with that. None of us, we all knew where Ethan was. And we have no regrets over it.
No.
I mean, he's a college kid who was in love. Who wouldn't be, It's where he stayed most nights. We all knew it. And we're blessed. They were very sweet together. I don't know that it's our job we've kind of taken the stand of not speaking about the other 3 kids, only because I guess as a mom, I want to be the person who represents my kids, so I have to think that their families feel the same way about representing them. But yes, we were fortunate to be able to spend a summer.
It was nice having her there.
Yeah.
And he was
It was
happy.
lovely. It was
Oh my
lovely.
gosh, yeah.
The two of them together were super cute. Funny. A lot of the kids, I think, will tell you they had very similar personalities, so it was cute.
But you've been very vocal about how, first of all, you don't have any interest in speaking of the suspect, and second of all, you don't really have any interest in going to the trial. Can you guys share with us how you came to that conclusion and why that's what's best for your family?
Yeah. The trial is we won't attend the trial. It's there's nothing there that's going to bring Ethan back. So we decide to take the positive energy and use it somewhere else. I would like for it to be over.
It's going to be, I think we have to tuck in for the
But
long haul. But
there again, you know,
I don't know.
the outcome for us is still the same.
It took one of our kids, right? It just can't sink the rest of our family, and that's how we decided to take it. It's a choice.
Tell me about CrimeCon, because you and I talked about this.
Yeah.
First of all, for those who don't know, what is CrimeCon, and why did you feel called to go there?
Yeah.
It seems unlike you.
We'd almost have to do a whole, 100%. I don't disagree with that. And I think that there were some people that were like, what on earth is she doing? So I was asked, CrimeCon is it's a convention for kind of true crime aficionados, I guess, if you will. There is a huge national following of true crime in this nation. We happen to be at the epicenter of it, you know, which is a place where I never thought we would be. Anyways, I was asked to sit on a panel. Then I actually got to meet with a group of, 24 families, victims' families, that are kind of in a similar national spotlight. And it became something that I thought, I'm kind of interested in that. I mean, I'm interested to meet these families. I wish I was not in a similar situation. But I was curious if there was some support, kind of a support group there. And I'll sit on a panel and talk about Ethan till I'm, and all of the great things that we've tried to do in his memory till the end of the day, right? And so I decided to go. I had no intention of actually going to the rest of it. I happened to be walking by when they were doing the Idaho session, and it was on the forensics. I had no intention of staying, and I didn't. But I was just curious. Like I wanted to step in the room and get a sense of like what is this really? I'd not been in any of the sessions. I just wanted to get a sense of what this was actually about. And the professor started to, he kind of there were some things that weren't quite right, and I, it got my ire up a little bit. And they were doing a question and answer, and there was a live mic, and I thought, well, here's my chance. So I just said, I have something to say. And I said, my name is Stacy Chapin and my son was Ethan. You could have heard a pin drop in that room. People who are fascinated by true crime, it's an entertainment for them. I mean, and I know that there's people who genuinely, feel a calling to maybe help. And we did it in this case. They released the white car, if you've seen this car. We have turned a nation into potential true crime participants. But there is a huge level of entertainment in it, and I just needed to say that your entertainment is our family's life. And I think it resonated with people, and then I felt this like calling a little bit to make sure that I reminded people that there's real families behind these stories.
How did it feel to do that?
Actually, it felt quite empowering, I think. I didn't know it at the time. I had to go home and really, kind of take it all in, but it's true, and I have no problem reminding people that there is a real family and a son, or people behind these stories. I didn't know I was going to be a mama bear.
Did you know you had all this strength in you?
Not this kind of strength. Yeah.
Tell me how much your boy loved country music.
Oh, he had it on all the time.
Yeah.
All the time, especially in the boat. He'd always have it on. We'd surf, and and I'd always get in trouble because I'd turn it down a little bit, and then he'd go, turn it up,
yeah.
And stuff. But he did. He played it in the Jeep. He just loved it.
He loved Morgan Wallen specifically.
He did.
Yes.
So how did it come to be that your family got to go to a concert? You got to meet the mom.
Yeah.
You had all this in common
amazing.
because Ethan had a special song, right?
Yes, he did. So on Mother's Day, which would have been May of 2022, he sent me a text message that was like, oh my gosh, Morgan Wallen wrote a song about his mom, and so we're going to have a song now. And it was very cute. And I told this story. Morgan's team saw it. And they reached out to us, actually, and said, any concert, anywhere, VIP tickets. And they just came, and his team came and found us, kind of early on in the evening. And, we went way down underneath the San Padres Stadium through a couple checkpoints. And He was the kindest. He was like, he had nothing better to do than to sit and talk to her. Not that he had nothing better to do, but he didn't feel like he was rushed, like, I gotta go warm up or something. He just was there. And the day before that, the team had sent me an email that said, just so you know, Leslie Wallen is flying in to meet you.
And why was that significant?
Well, because it was a Mother's Day song. It was a full circle moment of moms and sons, and there's just something.
It was so special.
It was so special. But everything that everybody's done is a true testament to Ethan and his personality and all of the great things that have, people have done for him. The benches that have been made, and the, volleyball courts that have been named, and just everything.
Yeah.
The money that's been donated, and it's incredible.
He's brought a lot of people together.
He
Yes.
has.
He
Truly.
genuinely was one of a kind. I don't know, try to be like Ethan, and you'll have a better life.
He's a good kid,
Very good.
and we miss
He
him
was a good
dearly.
kid. I think people identify with him in photos because I do think he's a kid that any mom can, or any family can look at and go, oh, that could be my kid. I mean, I think that there is something in him, in the photos that you see, that people are like,
It's the magic.
yeah, he was that good.